So welcome Adam Miller to a special edition of the Wine O'Clock Show where we're actually talking about wine.
Absolutely, it's great to be here.
Well, let's dive in and get our hands dirty with all this gorgeous wine and food here. I guess one of the questions that a lot of viewers like to know is if they're hosting a big party, a dinner party, or there could be a big social event at their house, what's a really great wine that everyone's going to love?
I think bubbles. Like everyone loves bubbles, whether it's Italian Prosecco or French Champagne or Australian Sparkling. Like you really rarely find anyone that goes, oh no, don't really like bubbles. Like it's exciting. It's just got the effervescence. It's bubbly. It's delicious. It's clean. It's crisp, and everybody likes it. So I would always start with that. And
when we're serving, obviously we're going to serve cheese platters at our functions that we tend to do. So what's some great wines that can pair up with some great cheeses?
I find it hard to match wine and cheese in terms of just like a blanket approach. Cheese and wine, there are so many different types and varieties of each. So that there's some classic examples like blue cheese and dessert wine, like blue cheese and Sauterne, beautiful, or Botrytis Semillon, like Chevre goat's cheese and a Sancerre, like a really high acid, clean, crisp Sauvignon Blanc is always a good option. Some Spanish Rioja and maybe like some Taleggio, or like a nice smoky Italian cheese. And so there's just so many different combinations. So I would, going back to bubbles, bubbles goes with all cheese. Okay. So you could have bubbles with an entire cheese platter.
So forget all the wine. Yeah. Just go the French Champagne.
Go the Champers or go Prosecco or go Australian Sparkling.
Is there any do's and don'ts when it comes to mixing cheese and wine? Like, so you wouldn't say necessarily mix a Sauvignon Blanc with a type of cheese?
The weird thing about cheese and wine is that there are so many things you can get wrong. So because cheese is so viscous and it really coats your mouth, so you need something that's high in acid just to clean your palate. But everybody likes a big glass of red and cheese, but they're both viscous, they're both heavy, they both coat your mouth. And so it's just not a great combination. So you need, if you're going to have red and cheese, you need something high in acid. You need like a Chianti or a Rioja or like a Margaret River Cabernet, or something that is a little bit lower in alcohol but higher in acid. Something like a Barossa Shiraz and cheese is not a good option, but it's what we all do.
Is there two different temperatures for wine? So what you'd store your white in to opposed to what you'd store your red in? Yeah,
so this is another thing we do really, really badly in Australia is we serve our whites way too cold and our reds way too warm. So the rough ideal wine temperature for a red wine would be 12 to 14 degrees or 12 to 16 degrees. With 12 being sort of Pinot Noir and 16 being a big rich Shiraz or Cabernet. And whites, it's sort of 6 to 8 or 6 to 10. And so most fridges are set to be sort of 3, 4. So that's just way too cold. And whites are so delicate and light that once they're cold, you get nothing.
Right.
So we're having a white and a red at a dinner party. I'll get the white out of the fridge half an hour before the dinner party and put the red in the white spot. So it brings the red down to about 14, 15, 16, and actually allows the white wine to get up to 6, 7, 8, 9, which is optimal.
Can you kill a myth? Can you put red in the fridge? Can you drink red cold?
I drink all of my reds out of the fridge. Yeah. Every single one. Just because so when you drink a red too warm, you get a lot of the alcohol. Like the esters, and so it feels more alcoholic when it's warm. So if you have it at 14 degrees, it's actually a more pleasurable drinking experience. Right. And that's how they're supposed to be consumed, is at that temperature. And in wineries, when they're tasting the wines to get to a certain style, all the wineries are actually really quite cold, and most of them are around 12, 13, 14 degrees, so that when they're tasting it at that temperature, that's how they want it to taste.
Let's get into a bit of wine tasting. Absolutely. Because I don't really know too much about this wine lingo that goes on in the industry.
Should we start with some bubbles?
Yes, let's do that.
Perfect.
So what does it mean when you're talking about, in wine lingo, I guess, and when you're tasting, what does it mean about, I guess, being big or buttery?
Well, big and buttery are two different things. So big can be used for whites and reds, and that generally refers to alcohol. So alcohol is related to glycerol, and so the higher the alcohol, the more viscous and thick and heavy the wine is. whereas buttery is generally related to oak.
Yep.
So whether it's French or American oak, you get these sort of vanillan, buttery, butterscotch characters from the oak, more so than just being big and rich.
Sure.
So this is a touch warm, which
Yeah.
means that the
It's not at our 16 degrees.
There's a higher propensity for this to go pear-shaped on camera.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Nice.
So this is actually spumante.
Really?
Yeah.
I used to drink that when I was like 12, I mean 18.
So I'll just grab that.
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
So common misconception, again in Australia, is spumante, cheap, sweet, horrible. Spumante just means it's just a sparkling wine from Italy.
Right.
So this is from the region that makes, that specialises in Prosecco, but because it's not made from Glera, which is the grape variety used for Prosecco, they can't call it Prosecco. This is made from about 13 different varieties, but it's made in the exact same style from the same region as Prosecco, and they just make it a little bit pink.
Sure.
But they have to call it Spumante because of the silly Italian wine laws. The good thing about Spumante is that it's not very popular because no one...
Can we think of a better name than Spumante?
It's such a bad name. You can just call it Casaghello.
Yeah, yeah. It brings flashbacks of, like when you're 18 and you're actually, when you drank Spumante, and that was about how the night ended.
Or it was on like your parents' dinner table when they were having people over, but it's not at all. So this is, it's cheers. It's clean, it's dry, it's crisp, and because it's not popular, so wine prices are all built around supply and demand, and because it's Spumante, no one wants it. So that this is $10 a bottle, and once you try it, you'll see it's just fantastic value for money. So this is my best value sparkling currently in the Australian market.
Under $10 or around $10?
It's not $9.99.
Oh yeah. Cool. So how do we actually, once you've poured a little bit of the wine into the glass, how do we appreciate it, and how do we, do the...
What I like to do is just, so when people sort of swish it around, all that's doing is it's actually releasing the aromas. Like if you smell it still, like there's a bit there, it's sort of flowers and there's nice sort of crisp apple, but like then you swish it around, all that's doing is actually releasing more of the aromas.
You don't know how to swish. I don't know how to swish. I was sloshing mine.
it's still doing the same thing, it's fine. So once you swish it around, so it's more lifted, it's more aromatic. So all you're doing by swishing is
releasing it.
Yeah, so you're not just a wanker. It's actually, there's a purpose.
There's a reason. Yeah. Yes, there's a reason.
There is a reason for why you're doing it. And then in terms of taste, the best thing to do, because you have taste buds all over your mouth, not just on your tongue, is once it's in your mouth, is to swish it around and then try and get some air over the top of it. You know when you see people and it's sort of like they're making a gargling sound, all they're doing is trying to get oxygen over the wine across all of their mouth.
Sure.
So you don't have to do that, but if I'm tasting and assessing, that's what I try and do. But all you have to do is just get a little bit of oxygen over the wine and make sure that the wine is in every part of your mouth. So we'll give it a go.
Do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So do you see now that once you breathe the air in, you can actually taste it everywhere?
Yes.
Now, can you feel like the tingling sensation here?
Yes.
So that's your saliva glands, and because this is quite high in acid, acid triggers your saliva glands. So that's why this is a great food wine, is because it's stimulating your saliva glands. So if you were to eat something and then have a sip of this, it sort of cleans your mouth and gets you ready for the next mouthful. Yeah. But that's why it's perfect. Awesome. So how much is that not like what you're expecting?
Not at all. Not at all.
Yeah.
And it does taste like a high-end French champagne or a French bubbles.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like you get strawberries, raspberries, like a Fuji apple sort of flavour, and all for $10.
Yeah. Speaking of, I guess, value, what are your top 5 picks for wine under $15?
Well, I actually have them here. Yeah, that's worked out well. Here's one I prepared earlier.
This is something I brought earlier. Yeah.
So the first one is Spumante, which we discussed. It's effectively just Italian Prosecco, but they can't call it Prosecco because it's not made from the Glera grape. And so all Prosecco has to be 100% Glera. And unfortunately in Italy they call sparkling wine spumanti.
Oh, okay.
So that's what this is.
Yep.
But for $10, as you can see,
because they've not come up with a more attractive name than spumanti.
And it's not great. It's really not great. Now Riesling. Everybody thinks Riesling is sweet. Not the case. It would be 90-something% of what Riesling produced in Australia is bone dry.
Wow.
So if you like Semillon Blanc, or you like Semillon, or you like an unoaked Chardonnay, give Riesling a go. And because Riesling's not popular, you can get a cracking bottle of Riesling for $10-15 easily. Another great thing is white blends from Margaret River in Western Australia is because it's Semillon, well, Semillon dominant, it's not popular. So it means, once again, price and demand, people aren't really looking or spending money on Semillon. So it just means that they just keep reducing the price so that people move through it. So this is a great example from Deepwoods. So they're actually number one, I think they were the number one winery in WA last year.
Wow.
And you can pick this up for like $12-13 a bottle. And it's just a great, easy drinking wine.
Yep.
And now, I know we were talking about sort of under $15 was sort of a rough guideline, but getting good Pinot Noir for under $15 is just so hard.
Yep.
So Pinot Noir is quite a fickle grape variety. It requires a lot of man hours, a lot of wine making, really low yield. So all of that equates to a higher price. And our Rioja, so probably another name that you may have heard of, and once again, parents used to drink it sort of in the 80s, but there are some great easy drinking, fruit-driven Riojas in the market, and you only have to pay $10-15. This is, I think, $11.99, $12.99 a bottle, and it's fruit forward, it's rich, minimal acid, so it's very drinkable, very quaffable. But yeah, so that's probably, if I was going to pick 5, that they would be the 5 that I'd go for. I'd go for a cheap Spumanti or Prosecco from Italy. I'd go Riesling either from Australia or like this one, Alsace. Probably head to WA, even if you go outside of Margaret River, there's even greater value down at Great Southern and Geograph. Pinot, probably go for someone like De Bordelais, who have just an unlimited amount of Chardonnay and Pinot, so they need to sell their wines. And then just a cheeky little Rioja, just fruit forward, everyone will like it.
True or false, is red wine good for you?
I'll say yes. I'm no doctor or no scientist, but I think that there is a lot of value in doing things that you enjoy, like all the endorphins that you get from, or that I get from opening a really nice bottle of wine. I'm not saying go out and drink a bottle or whatever, but I get so much satisfaction from opening a really nice bottle of wine, and there's got to be some intrinsic value from that. I'm not sure if that's placebo or just like a mental thing, but I'd much prefer to do things that make me happy more so than not. So
where can everybody find out? Because I know you work for the Gourmet.
Yes, gourmet.com.au.
So everyone can get on there and find all this information.
Yep. Yeah. So the gourmet.com.au specialises in premium boutique pantry items, along with a really small curated, hand-selected curated beer, wine and spirits selection by myself. And the cool thing is that you can bundle them all together. There's free shipping over $100. And in terms of wine, you can mix and match your own cases. So if you don't want to commit to an entire dozen, what you can do is you can try any of these wines. You can grab a Riesling, you can grab a Shiraz, you can order 3 bottles, you can order 12 bottles, you can order 48 bottles, and we just mix them all together and just get them out to you, and they leave the next day.
Adam, thank you so much for joining us on the show today and telling us all about these wines.
My pleasure.
Cheers, and thank you.
Here's to Rioja.
Yeah.